What is up, everybody? Welcome back again to another episode of Say What? Barstool Parlay. Let's get into something that we've talked about a little bit, but as things continue to heat up, things change. As we get close to the draft here, we'll get into what the Bears should do with their number one overall pick. Which, like I said, is something we've already talked about. But obviously, some things have changed for the Bears with the trading of Justin Fields to Pittsburgh, and now the realization of everybody was thinking that the Bears were taking Caleb, then they were leaning away from taking Caleb. Are they still thinking about taking Caleb? And where this is all playing out, because a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are moving. And despite that, we've talked about this a little bit before, what I think the Bears should do as things change. Obviously, we want to get back into it, and we also want to get back into the fact that I dug in a little bit deeper on the Bears draft this year and what picks they actually have and stuff, and some of my opinions have changed a little bit as far as what the Bears should do. So let's get into this, guys. And before we do, as always, make sure to share, like, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when content is coming out. Raw takes, no apologies. Let's get into it. All right, so number one thing with the Bears, they have number one overall pick, and people are reporting that now it seems that it is a lock that they are going to go after Caleb Williams now that Justin Fields has been traded to Pittsburgh. Couple things here. One, it absolutely should not be a lock that they're going after Caleb Williams. We've talked in depth about, Caleb Williams and my evaluation of Caleb Williams, Merrill Hodges' evaluation of Caleb Williams, if you don't want to take my word for it, who's evaluated quarterbacks very accurately, probably more accurately than anybody else for a long time, and not the nonsense guys like Mel Kiper, who if Jimmy Clausen isn't a first round number one overall pick and isn't an automatic top 10 starter in this league, I'm going to retire. Well, he's still doing it, and we all know how Jimmy Clausen turned out. So, let's get into it. Caleb Williams, one, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He doesn't want to be in Chicago, and his quotes have always made it very, very clear he doesn't want to be in Chicago. I mean, this guy literally threatened he was going to go back to USC unless the Bears assured him they were going to trade the number one overall pick. You want to draft that guy? You want to force that guy to play for you? That makes absolutely no sense if you're Chicago, trying to force him to play for you. And what I said, what Chicago should do in this scenario is the simple fact of what the Chargers and the Giants did with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers. Don't force him to play for you. Find your Phillip Rivers in this scenario. Find your Phillip Rivers in this scenario. If the guy doesn't want to play for you, don't force him to play for you. Go get another one of these very, very good quarterbacks that are available in this draft. This is a very good quarterback draft. Unlike the Trevor Lawrence draft with Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and Justin Fields and all these guys, Mac Jones, this is a very good quarterback draft, 100%. And a lot of these guys are going to stick, and a lot of these guys are going to be very, very, very successful. And that's bared out when you watch the tape. Like the quarterbacks on that draft, it was very, very obvious when you watch tape. Like Mac Jones throwing to wide open Devontae Smith and these guys, it's not impressive. There was nothing there. There was nothing on Mac Jones that made you say, oh yeah, he's going to work. Oh wow. Now granted, he got screwed in New England, but still. And same thing, when everybody wants to say that it's so hard to evaluate quarterbacks, and I've said this before. It's really not. When you watch tape, you can watch one throw. You can watch one play and say, that guy can play. That guy can play. You can watch one throw where he anticipates the coverage. Oh, my buddy's chiming into the video here. But you can watch one play. You can watch one thing and see the wow factor with quarterbacks and, whether guys are going to be talented enough to succeed. And when you watch film, it's not hard to find that stuff out. And what we see with Caleb Williams, which I've said before on film, is his play style does not translate to the NFL. And I know what you guys are saying. Oh, well, Patrick Mahomes runs around this and that. Patrick Mahomes is excellent in the pocket. And he moves around and he buys time and he makes great throws. But Patrick Mahomes also, which we saw, he takes what the defense gives him. And if he doesn't rely on his athleticism, Caleb Williams relies on his athleticism. Patrick Mahomes does incredible things out of desperation when the play breaks down. Caleb Williams causes plays to break down on purpose. There'll be a wide open slant. He won't take it because he knows he can make the first guy miss, run around, and then chuck a backyard football play 40 yards down the field. It doesn't work in the NFL because when that rusher comes in the NFL, he's not going to miss. You're not going to get away from him. And if you do get away from him and you can extend the play with your feet and make a great off-schedule throw, awesome. That's great. But when you rely on, I'm not going to take the swing route, I'm not going to take the slant, I'm not going to take the check down because I'm going to bet on myself to evade all these rushers and scramble around till somebody breaks loose 20, 30 yards down the field. It doesn't work in the NFL. One, you throw picks when you do that. Two, like I said, you're not the most athletic guy in the field anymore, so that doesn't work. You're 9 times out of 10, that's a sack. You're not escaping, it's a sack. And that's my big problem with Caleb Williams. And like Merrill Hodd said, he's watched games, he's seeing most of the same things that I'm seeing. And, you know, his takeaway from it after just watching 3 games of Caleb Williams was the kid's not special. Everybody thinks he's Patrick Mahomes. He's not. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. And it's disrespectful to Patrick Mahomes to even try to compare this kid to Patrick Mahomes. There's one Tom Brady. There's one Patrick Mahomes. And just because the kid has a similar play style where he runs around and throws off platform, it doesn't make him Patrick Mahomes. I can put my form together and jump up perfectly and shoot with the exact same form of Ray Allen. It doesn't make me Ray Allen. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. There's only one Tom Brady. And this kid is not it. And that's what Merrill Hodd said. He's not special. He's not it. So, and like I said, we've broken down Caleb Williams and gone through that. If you haven't checked it out, check out the video. So there's a lot of problems with Caleb Williams as a quarterback. But the other side of it is too, and this is what I want to relay to the Bears fans and the people that want you to draft Caleb Williams, regardless of what you think of Caleb Williams as a quarterback. Like I said, I'm not sold on him. I'm not a huge fan of him. His personality, his dad's a problem. He doesn't want to be in Chicago, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Every time he plays good defense like Notre Dame, he throws multiple interceptions. I mean, the list goes on. But even if you think he is the next Mahomes, he's the next great quarterback, okay, let's move forward under that assumption. The Bears need more than a quarterback. They're not a quarterback away. They absolutely have more holes and pieces that they need to fill than a quarterback. So if we look at this, and this is where I've started to kind of change my opinion here, where I thought the Bears had accumulated a lot more picks than they did. Like with the trade with Carolina and all this, I thought they got a lot more picks than they did. And I said before that I thought Ryan Poles has done a masterful job accumulating picks and playing these odds correctly. And what I soon realized was I was wrong. And he hasn't done as masterful a job as I thought. But it can turn into as masterful a job as I thought with this draft and these accumulation of picks. And let me explain to you what I mean. So I dug into the Bears a little bit and their draft picks. Here's the draft picks for the Bears. You have 2 picks in the first round. Pick 1, pick 9. You have 0 picks in the second round. 0 picks in the third round. 0 picks in the fourth round. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself here, guys. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. In the third round, you have pick 75. In the fourth round, you have pick 122. In the 5th, 6th, and 7th round, you have 0 picks. So you have 2 picks in the first round, 0 picks in the second round, 1 pick in the third round, 1 pick in the fourth round, and then you have 3 rounds with 0 picks. That's my point here, guys, with the number 1 overall pick. You need to accumulate picks. You need a left tackle. There's other holes on this team that need to get filled. You need another wide receiver. And I know everybody, well, we just got Keenan Allen and this and that. Keenan Allen has never been healthy throughout his entire career. If you guys are betting on Keenan Allen to stay healthy for 17 games, good luck. Good luck, Chicago. He's not going to stay healthy for 17 games. And I've said before, if I was the Bears, what I would do is this, and let me explain to you why. I would trade the first overall pick to Washington based on what they're willing to give me. Why? Because then I can have the second overall pick in the first round. So now you have the second overall pick and you still have the 9th overall pick. Also, you could force Washington into giving you, they have 2 second-round picks, pick 36 or pick 40 in the second round, or potentially force them into giving you both. And you could probably 100% leverage them into giving you both, especially if they're sold on Caleb Williams and they think, oh, bring the hometown kid back to Washington and this and that and all the marketing that goes along with it. You could probably leverage them into giving you both of those second-round picks. So then you end up in the first 2 rounds with pick 2, pick 9, pick 36, pick 40. That's 4 top 100 players that you can pick if you're Chicago. With those picks, you could take Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2. Now you have a solidified wide receiver on the other side of DJ Moore, who can be one of the best third receivers in the NFL. And when Keenan Allen gets hurt, he's a solidified number 2 next to DJ Moore. And like I said, when Keenan Allen's there and healthy, it's a complete bonus of weapons for Chicago on the offensive side for any rookie quarterback. Now, if Washington doesn't want to do that deal, you can also do a deal with New England for their pick plus their second-round pick, which would give you pick 34, and I believe New England picks 3rd, so 3rd or 4th. So you would still have a top 5 pick from New England plus an even higher second-round pick at 34. Now, here's the things that I keep trying to say, guys, and this is why I like the Washington trade. Is with Washington, if you can force Washington to give you both their second-round picks, you could take one of those second-round picks, or both of them if you needed to, and bundle them to get back into the first round to get a 3rd first-round pick. The point is here, when you guys start to think about it, the point is, I'm hoping what you guys are realizing is, if you get rid of the number 1 overall pick, there's a lot of options that make sense. That's what we're trying to get across here. There's a lot of options that make sense and a lot of ways to accumulate multiple players and multiple and loads of talent to fill multiple holes if you're Chicago. So you need to move the picks to give yourself leverage to get more players and more talent to fill these holes. If I'm a Bears fan, even if I like Caleb Williams, do I want Caleb Williams and who's a diva and doesn't want to be here and potentially has bust written all over him? Do I want to sell my soul to get Caleb Williams? And then what? 2 other players because we have no draft picks? Or do I want to trade the number 1 overall pick, force whoever trades with me to give me some late round picks attached to the back end as value on this trade, some 5th, 6th, 7th round picks? So now I can end up with some 5th, 6th, 7th round picks that right now I have 3 rounds where I'm not picking. I get to go home right now if I'm Chicago after the 4th round. I don't even have to show up for day 3 because I ain't picking. So, or day 4. Or do I want Caleb Williams and like 2 players? I mean, that's what we're looking at if you're Chicago. And for me, I think the smart move is obviously you trade back the pick. You get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., you go get a left tackle. And then on top of that, like I said, I've been preaching Michael Penix Jr. has the most arm talent in this draft. Whoever ends up with Michael Penix Jr., if he can stay healthy, the injuries are the concern with Penix. But if he can stay healthy, he has the most arm talent in this draft. And it's now starting to become, after seeing him at the Combine, it's starting to become a consensus that, yeah, Michael Penix has the most arm talent in the draft. It's become a consensus now after watching him throw at the Combine. If he can stay healthy, somebody's going to be very, very happy with Michael Penix. I'm a huge Bo Nix guy in this draft. I love Bo Nix. Like I said, I love Michael Penix, but the injury history does scare me. I'm a full believer that when healthy, Michael Penix will be the best quarterback in this draft. But I think overall, especially if you're a team like the Bears, and you're betting on, hey, we just signed all these free agents, we're going to add some pieces in the draft, we're trying to turn this around and make it work right now. I think Bo Nix is the most ready to come in day 1 and be a starter. He has great anticipation. He reads coverage well. He's still athletic. He has a great arm. He's extremely accurate. And he's one of those guys who anticipates throws very well. He throws into holes, forces the receivers, throws receivers open. So I think Bo Nix is, with his experience, is the most ready right now to step in and play with all the starts and everything under his belt. So I love Bo Nix in this draft. I think Bo Nix will immediately be the most successful quarterback in this draft. Surefire successful quarterback in this draft, day one, as a starter. Michael Penix, like I said, has the arm talent. I also love Jayden Daniels from LSU. He's going to be a very, very interesting guy coming out. He has a lot of arm talent. Unlike what I said about Lamar when Lamar came out, which continues to get proved true, whatever you guys want to think about Lamar, he's a great player, spectacular athlete. He can't throw from the pocket. He can't make plays from the pocket. We see it over and over and over and over and over again. And he's improved throughout his time, but he's never going to be a passer. He's never going to be a beat you because he threw it 55 times guy. It's never going to happen. Jayden Daniels has far, far superior arm talent. Jayden Daniels can play quarterback from the pocket, and he has legs like Lamar, which makes him a very interesting prospect. So, like I said, guys, there's lots of options that you can do if you're Chicago, but the one option that you can't do is stay at number one and take Caleb Williams. You can't do it. Yeah, you can't do it. And if Caleb Williams turns out to be great and it works, I'll be the first one on here saying I was wrong and I swung and missed on Caleb Williams. But I don't think it's going to work. I don't buy into Caleb Williams. I think he has bust written all over him. And if you're the Bears and you're polls and you're trying to keep your job, I'm not playing the lottery. I'm not playing the Caleb Williams lottery card with my job. I'm taking a surefire Bo Nix. I'm taking a surefire Jayden Daniels. I'm taking a surefire Michael Penix maybe later in the second round with injury and hope he stays healthy. But I'm not attaching my career to Caleb Williams, who potentially might be the biggest bust since Jamarcus Russell. I'm definitely not attaching my career to Drake May, who's going to be a bust. I'm not attaching my career to J.J. McCarthy, who's going to be absolutely average at best, unless he ends up in like the perfect scenario with the perfect coach, which that scenario might be Minnesota for him. But yeah, if I'm Ryan Poles, Jayden Daniels and Bo Nix, those are the two that I'm trying to keep my job, and these are surefire high-level starters in the NFL, in my opinion. And I'm attaching my wagon to the safe bet with guys who still have tremendous upside and can play football at a high level, and at the same time build a very, very good team around them with the assets that I've collected from trading the Caleb Williams pick. So, like I said, that's my view on it, guys. And for a lot of you guys that are saying, you don't like guys like Bo Nix or this and that, hey, well, at the end of the day, worst case scenario, you can always trade back as well, to New England's pick. Let them take Caleb Williams and you take Jayden Daniels, with New England's pick, if you can get a read on what Washington's doing. But at the end of the day, guys, like I said, if you trade with Washington, you can always trade back and take Jayden Daniels number 2. And I think he's a far more dynamic player than Caleb Williams. I think this illusion of what Caleb Williams is for Bears fans, I think what Jayden Daniels is what Bears fans have convinced themselves Caleb Williams is. Jayden Daniels has the Lamar legs. He has the arm to go along with it. He plays well from the pocket. He's got a big arm. He's very accurate. Throws well on the move. And I think that Bears fans have convinced themselves that Caleb Williams is the one who he has this athletic package like Jayden Daniels, and he doesn't. Yes, he's an athletic guy, but he's not Jayden Daniels, and he's not going to be running all over the place in the NFL because he's not that athletic. If I look at Caleb Williams, he's probably like a 4'6", 40 guy. 4'6"-ish, 4'6", guy. He's not that athletic. So So that's, like I said, guys, I think that's just this thought process that Bears fans have pushed themselves into, that Caleb's more athletic than he is. He's a better decision maker than he is. He plays better from the pocket than he does. And when you really watch the tape, like I said, it doesn't bear that out. It doesn't support any of that. And for the people who think he's this generational, can't miss, 100% surefire pick, they must be watching different tape than me. They must be seeing different film than I'm seeing, because I'm not seeing it. I'm absolutely not seeing it. And if you remember, guys, everybody said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. What are we sitting here talking about with Trevor Lawrence now? Yeah, he's a starter in the NFL. He's okay. It's not quite what we thought he was. A little disappointing. And remember, he's the best prospect that we've ever seen in the history of the draft, and he's automatic, surefire, can't miss. He's going to be fantastic in the NFL. And what are we doing? I never liked Trevor Lawrence coming out of the draft. Never liked him. I was like, yeah, if I'm a team that needs a quarterback and I'm sitting, middle of the first round and Trevor Lawrence is sitting there, yeah, he'll be a good starter. He'll be average. And what have we seen? He's just a good starter. He's average. At times, he's not even average. I mean, since the time he came in the league, he leads the NFL in turnovers, guys. And that was a problem at Clemson, too. Turnovers. So, you guys, you hear this from the media, and you hear all these stories and things getting pushed out there. And in reality, when you break it down, every time they think somebody is the next generational Hall of Fame guy, he never is. So for Bears fans, you should have your antennas up. The fact that everybody is consensus, Caleb Williams is a surefire consensus number 1 overall pick. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is the next Patrick Mahomes. There's no questions. He's it. They've never been right on any of those guys. Not one. Not one. And I know everybody loves Andrew Luck and everybody talks about Andrew Luck. They weren't right on Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck did not have the success of Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Drew Brees or anybody else. His winning percentage wasn't as good. He was constantly injured. And the Colts team wasn't, I'm not putting it all on Andrew. There was problems with that Colts team. But he was not the generational guy that everybody built him up to be. He was just a good starter. He was an above average NFL starter. He was like Dak. He wins a lot of games. He's an above average starter. But he's not a generational guy. He's not a Hall of Fame guy. They've never, ever, ever correctly hit on any of these guys. So if you're a Bears fan, you should automatically, by default, just say, oh, the media thinks he's a surefire, first ballot, Hall of Fame guy. You have to draft him or you're an idiot guy. Yeah, we probably shouldn't take him, because those guys are never the best guys in their draft. So that's where I'm at with it, guys. Like I said, if you're the Bears, find your Phillip Rivers in this scenario. Trade your Eli Manning, find your Phillip Rivers. There's no reason to try to force him to play for you. A guy who's completely going to be unhappy playing for you, who doesn't want to be there, who then is going to give you contract hell when the negotiations come around, and potentially might demand a trade after the offseason. I mean, why put yourself through all that? Collect talent, trade the picks. This is a very excellent quarterback draft. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. Trade the pick, collect assets, continue to fill holes in your team, continue to build talent, and collect some picks in this draft. Collect some late round picks, get some second round picks, add another first round pick. Add assets. If I'm the Bears, why do I want Caleb Williams and nothing? I would rather have Jayden Daniels and assets and multiple picks than Caleb Williams and nothing. I'd rather have Bo Nix and multiple picks and assets than Caleb Williams and nothing. I'd rather have a Michael Penix with assets and Caleb Williams with nothing. Now, if I'm the Bears, the injury history with Penix, I would get away from Penix because of the injury history if I'm Chicago. And like I said, Ryan Poles is going to be drafting for his job, so the injury history would scare me. And I would bank on my 2 surefire guys, Jayden Daniels and Bo Nix. Those are the 2 guys I'm banking on in this draft. So That's my take on it, guys. Like I said, hopefully what you guys are understanding is when you look at the picks and you look at what's going on, you can figure out that if you trade the number one overall pick, there's a lot of different options you can go. There's a lot of different routes, but you have options at that point. And what I thought, this masterful class by Ryan Poles on putting together all these draft picks, it's not completed yet. You have 0 picks in the last 3 rounds. You have 0 second-round picks. You have no picks in this draft. He's actually not really accumulated anything. He got 2 first-round picks. Great, we got the number 1 overall pick and the 9th pick. We got 2 first-round picks. Sweet. We stacked some picks there. But to make this a master class in draft capital compensation, the class has to be finished with this draft. This is where you turn it into a master class and you end up with, over the next 2 or 3 years, 5 or 6 first-round picks and 3 or 4 second-round picks and multiple late-round picks. That's when this turns into a master class where all of a sudden the Bears have accumulated from this year's draft through 2025 the most top 100 picks in the NFL. And that's something that you can absolutely accomplish by just trading out of the number 1 pick and taking a surefire starter versus a lottery ticket potential bust guy and betting the farm on a guy who's filled with red flags who doesn't want to be there in the first place. That's what you can do. And for all you guys, oh no, we can't pass on Caleb Williams, this and that. Like I said, San Diego passed on Eli Manning. They were pretty happy with Phillip Rivers. Turned out pretty good for him. Yeah, they didn't get a Super Bowl, but Phillip Rivers was pretty good. Didn't turn out too bad for him. And if you're the Bears, you'd be stoked to have Phillip Rivers' career if you were Chicago. So, at the end of the day, guys, that's where I sit on this. I don't like Caleb Williams. The Bears have a lot of options that they could do in this draft, a lot of smart moves that they could make, depending on exactly what direction they want to go and exactly what holes they want to fill. But the one thing they can't do is sit at number 1 and take Caleb Williams. They can't do it. And like I said, the guy's got bust written all over him. I don't really like anything about him outside of his arm talent a little bit, like some of his off-platform stuff. Other than that, I don't really like anything about Caleb Williams. The film backs that up. There's nothing special about him. So if you're the Bears, what you can't do is sit at number 1 and lock yourself into taking a guy who has bust written all over him. That's what you can't do. As always, raw takes, guys. No apologies. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, peace out.